When Harrod Blank realized his 65 Beetle could become a canvas, the result was his first art car. Oh my God. Painted like a beach ball with a bumper of plastic fruit and rubber chickens, a chalkboard on back, and a TV on the roof, that car became a catalyst for a remarkable career. Initially, he thought he was the only one in the world with an art car, and at times he felt quite alienated. That changed as he gradually learned from supporters that there were other such cars spread out across the country, drawing from what he had learned from his father, the filmmaker Les Blank, and his BA in theater arts and film from UC Santa Cruz. In '86, he began photographing other art cars. He raised money through private investors and personal loans and financed the 64-minute documentary he dreamed of making, Wild Wheels. He has been with us before, by the way, and it's our absolute pleasure when I send you over to Harrod Blank, HARROD blank.com, and also to artcarworld.org. He is building a monument these days. It is a thrill to have him back. Hey, man, welcome back. It is great to have you on Road Gang Radio.
Thank you.
Harrod, okay, there's so much going on here, but like in the best, most beautiful way. And I'm always curious when things like don't make sense because there's that they end up making sense and really moving people. You are in Douglas, Arizona, by the way, so you're in a bilingual border town. There's a museum. It's dedicated entirely to celebrating the mobile art phenomenon, from your own camera van to this collection of dozens of one-of-a-kind art cars. There's so much that I just said there. So many things and moving pieces going together that become its own genre, its own entity, its own thing. Take us back, Harrod, a little bit, if you will. Was there intention to create something that was going to sort of change the culture over there in Douglas, Arizona? What was your intent, and or was the intent you're mainly just bringing together things you love in the area you were? Was it bigger than that? Because it has become bigger than that.
Well, it started out by being a necessity. I needed to find a place to put all these art cars, and I couldn't afford to do it in California, to be honest with you. And then the second thing was that the environment, the weather, the lack of humidity in Arizona is perfect for cars and the preservation of cars. You know, you see cars oftentimes in the desert, and they're just sitting there forever, and they just get a little rusty. That's about it. It's really good for cars. So coupled with that, that's why I started the ArtCar World Museum in Douglas, which is really is strange. Excuse me. It really is strange because it's not a town that art cars came out of, but it's a town where art cars are ending up.
Well, and that's a really good point, though. That actually kind of fits into the project as well, too, because, you know, in going through the bio and having looked at a lot of your work and all, it's a sense of like it's literally having an idea and needing a place to put it. And in some ways, the realization that the 65 was, in fact, a canvas of sorts. You can make the meta comment that that Douglas, Arizona becomes the canvas as well. Where do we put this? I have this artistic urge. I have this, I guess now what you would call an installation piece. I need the proper canvas to put it in, and the geography and the climate and the economics, all basically you have a place that is waiting to be discovered for what its real purpose is. And I mean, can you make the case that ultimately Douglas, its purpose, it didn't come up with the art car, it didn't produce the art car, but it's the best place for the art car to live?
Yes, and you just gave me an idea. The car is a canvas when you make an art car. And I never thought about this before, but Douglas could be a blank canvas as well. And what I'm doing nowadays, since I've talked to y'all, is I'm building a monument, which is a 87-foot tall, huge sculpture monument with a spinning eyeball with flames that spins in the wind. Well, let's just say a 32-foot weather vane, and it's going to be all lit up, and where the arches touch the earth are going to be shrines for people to sit in and congregate and communicate, so there's a connection with people. And then I'm building 15 giant umbrellas that are 3 feet across that hang carved out fire extinguishers that have been converted into lamps that are designed by the people of Douglas and other artists, and 4 chandeliers. And this art walk is like the gateway to the monument, which is right across the street from the ArtCar World Museum. Why am I doing this? Because I'm kind of a visionary, and what I wanted to do was create a place that has an identity, not just for cars, but a place where people can come and marvel and be part of it and be immersed in it. And this is right downtown across from the City Hall in Douglas, Arizona. So this is an unusual endeavor. You know, I've never done this before. I've never built a big sculpture. I'm not even a metal guy. I don't even know how to weld. And yet we're building 15 umbrellas, 4 chandeliers, and a gigantic monument from which hangs a 1949 Chrysler Hudson car that has been carved out to be like a Moroccan lamp. And that's going to hang from this giant monument and light up the parking lot with the designs that are on the car.
So earlier today, Harrod, we had on the show a journalist who is very much deeply enmeshed in the Motor City, Dearborn, Michigan, Detroit, and all that. And his first story that he was talking about was the transformation of Ford's corporate headquarters from basically a dour man in the gray flannel suit cubicle to essentially an open campus that has like 5 areas of congregation, all of them shaped like the Great Lakes. And they seem to have the realization that they were going to have an international hub to bring their partners, their international partners, but also give people a chance to really work in a breathable living space to kind of create that. They tore down the old building and used that open land as a canvas of sorts. You mentioned this, the thing that you just said too, the idea that you and I are talking about Douglas as a canvas, you're bringing in Douglas artists to create this as well. So in some ways, it's almost like the meta, in a meta sense, bringing the art museum down, that in of itself has a canvas that led to greater works of art, but that becomes almost the paint box or the Da Vinci studio, as it were, to kind of then spread out. And the realization that Douglas opens itself up for you, that you have an opportunity with your collaborators to create a new and possibly its purpose identity for this place too. And like I said, I'm just wondering what it's like to enlist the members of the community into the creation of this. This isn't a solo artist kind of saying, stay out of my way while I do my thing. You really are a collaborator, both in the works that you have received and transported, but also in how you've embraced the community. Can you talk a little bit about how you sell this to the citizens of Douglas, not only to get them to buy in, but to be a part of it?
Well, that's really interesting. I had to start with sketches and drawings and proposals, and I did city council meetings, and I just stayed the course, and they were a little bit surprised at first. They really didn't know what this guy was doing, but as I continued to build things and the location, and then that it brought in tourism, that's a big plus, because the town is needing to reinvent itself after having lost the copper smelter and its industry, and that was its identity in the past, but that's no longer possible and no longer fruitful. So this is a new opportunity for the town to be an attraction, and it is an interesting place. It's a mix of cultures, so I'm hoping that as we go through this, it will embrace both cultures and represent both cultures. It has a handmade aspect to it with all of the metal work, which is handmade. It's sort of like New Orleans in a way, old school metal, wrought iron, artifacts everywhere. So it's a mixed bag, but I think the people, as this thing gets built, and they're part of it, I think it's going to gain momentum. And, this isn't just about me and my lifetime. This is about making something that is so big and so well made that it'll stand the test of time, and it's going to be a gift to the community. You know, when I die, it's not going to be taken down because it's too big. And then hopefully it'll be embraced by others, and other people will run it, and it'll have a vitality to it that is positive for the community. And that's really what art cars are about, is public art on the highways, in your face, that bring joy. Sometimes they bring controversy because people are expressing things that other people don't agree with, but it gets people going. You know, when you're on the highway and you see these vehicles, it lightens up your whole day. And interestingly enough, Douglas is beginning a new port of entry, and they're going to be bringing in a much higher trucking industry from Mexico. So I'm already thinking of how to put in EV chargers for trucking and trying to appeal to truckers from Mexico, which will be interesting. But, you know, it's just it's a roadside attraction in a world where I think in the future we're going to be moving around a lot more than we already have been. So roadside attractions, I think, are going to be even more appealing, especially when they have all the amenities that you might need if you're on the road. So a water station, charging stations, a place to spend the night, rooms. We have 10 rooms above the ArtCar World Museum right now. But having the amenities that just make your life more pleasant, you know, like Love's truck stops have appealed to that need for people when they're on the highway and they're not making a big trip. It needs to be convenient, and there needs to be amenities. And that's what I'm trying to take a step further. And not only are there amenities of things that you really need, but there's things that will make you feel happy and comfortable, and you can hang out while you're charging your vehicle. You can sit in the park bench underneath this monument and just gaze at the art while your car is charging.
Wow, this is a movement. This is not a piece of art. This is not just a museum, and that goes, I think, kind of back to my original question of, you know, when you set out to, you're really building a world, building a bridge, and you know, with Douglas, Arizona, it sits right near the U.S. Mexico border there, as we've talked about, and thus, you know, it has these inherent themes, I guess, which is kind of, I'm going to make a correlation here and maybe go deep. But it has these themes of transition and crossing and identity and blending the cultures, which you keep talking about. So, you know, Harrod, how do you've kind of already said this, but I want to kind of beat a dead horse here, because I want to know how you feel the museum's location in this border zone, how it influences, you know, the vibe of transformation and using the car as a vehicle of crossing, because as you said, we want people to come sit under this monument, take in the area, take in the culture, and take in really, you're doing something to bring humanity back together. In your own way, you are changing the world. Do you feel that, and is that part of the vibe here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we get, I'm not sure what percentage our visitors are from Mexico, but the neighboring city, Agua Prieta. But we get a lot of visitors from over there, and it is a bridge. It is, it's bringing people together rather than pushing them apart. And it's done with art, and, you know, anybody in the world can look at, let's just say, this monument that we're building. They may not all like it, but they're all going to see something, and it's going to have an effect on them. For the most part, I'm hoping positive, and that's what it's about. It's really, it's all inclusive. We actually are bilingual. Our docents are bilingual, and it's for everybody. I mean, anybody. And by the way, you know, these art cars are not for everybody per se. Some people gravitate towards one art car, let's just say the Mondrian Mobile, via another car. Some people like the more girly-looking cars, and some people don't. And that's the beauty of being human. We're not all the same. We don't have the same interests. We don't have the same likes. But a museum like this, with all of these different vehicles, there's going to be something in it for everyone. And And the monument, I'm hoping that, I mean, my fantasy would be that people come from all over. They come to see the museum, they park their vehicle, they hang out, and they get into these park benches that are inside of these shrines in this monument, and they sit there and they communicate. They share a moment with their family or their friends. It's going to be fiber optic Wi-Fi, so they can play music, they can work on their computers, whatever they want to do in these cubicles. There's 4 of them. And then they go on with their life. But for 15 minutes out of their day or a half hour or whatever it is, they get to escape and connect. And that's really the idea that I came up. This happened during COVID, by the way. I got COVID and I was really sick, and I thought I was going to die. So inspired by the movie Ikuru by Kurosawa, I decided to build a monument, not for children per se, but for adults and for people to congregate and connect. Because I see that with social media and everything, that's great, but we're not connecting in person. And I just feel like that is still the king. When you connect in person, that's where you really have a nice moment.
Agreed, Jim.
The thing is, I keep thinking about it. You brought up Akiru, and of course, the most famous image of that is this: the old man sitting there, kind of, taking a moment to kind of, think about all that has been and all that is yet to come. And I want to kind of follow up with the Lindsay question in a more specific way. So we know that your entrance into Douglas has transformed Douglas, is in the process of transforming the space, and we know why you went down there. What impact, in regards to your own artistic urges, has Douglas transformed both you and the project? What influence has it had on you in regards to creating new work moving forward and creating these projects?
And well, that's interesting. I haven't thought of that before. I'd have to give that more thought to give you a good answer. But I'm sort of, as a visionary type person, I really am being obedient to the vision. And I mean, I would be doing this wherever I was, and I do work on these ideas when I'm not in Douglas. So I'm kind of a worldly type guy. I'm not in Douglas, but maybe half the time. And a quarter of the time I'm in the Bay Area, and I'm working for my father's film legacy, which is called Les Blank Films. And then a quarter of the time I'm out in the world. I like to go see things and do things. And I do a lot of driving, and I do a lot of traveling. I go to other roadside attractions. I go to other museums. I just saw the new Calder exhibit in New York, and it's part of it. But as far as Douglas goes, I think these relationships that I'm making with other artists it's increasing, and it's going to grow over time. But I've been sort of in a vacuum, to be honest with you, in some ways, because I was so focused on trying to make this thing happen. And I do need to rely on other people because I can't possibly do an 87-foot tall monument by myself. I can't do it. So I'm leaning on a lot of other artists and a lot of other people to get there. But that's an interesting question. I'll think more about that. It's probably going to increase over time. And I would like to push the relationships in Mexico as well. Like, I do have connections in Agua Prieta, but I'd like to have more and collaborate more across the border if possible.
By the way, in some ways, you're also dealing with the burden of dreams. I'm sorry, I've been holding on to that one for a while. I just wanted to slip that one in there for you. But there is a Fitzcarraldo element to all of this, the idea that you are in the midst of trying to create a vision. And much as your father documented visions in his own visionary way, you're in the midst of both creating and documenting a really compelling, idiosyncratic, eccentric vision that nonetheless is accessible to a lot of people. So you're following in your father's footsteps spiritually, which is the best way to follow anybody's legacy, I think. That's just want to kind of throw that in there. I've been thinking about that since you began this project, and just kind of wanted to make sure that somebody told you that.
Yeah, I often think about Burden of Dreams, and that this is a burden of dreams. And I'm clearly following in my father's footsteps and honoring his legacy, etc. So you're totally right about that.
Real quick, Harrod, we're out of time, but everyone, I want to head over to artcarworld.com or harrodblank.com. Since you mentioned, leave our truck driving audience here with your top 3 roadside attractions, wherever that is across the country, outside of your own, as we've hit. What are 3 things that you would suggest people check out as they're driving across country?
Okay, I like Salvation Mountain in Nyland, California. That one is still up and running, and it's a nonprofit.
Right.
I like the Beer Can House in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Let's see, another one. I love the American Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore, and they're, and I've been inspired by them as well, by the way, because I think that's a great museum, and it's visionary, and the outside of the building is covered with art and mosaics as well. I highly recommend people visit that place. And then, there's Roadside America, there's Atlas Obscura, and you can just type in art environment or what have you in your search window, wherever you're at, and go see something in public wherever you're at. There's something almost in every place across America.
Amazing. These are good. Not only, by the way, that gave our listeners tips, but we will be reaching out to everyone you just said to continue to
Salvation Mountain
comments.
is awesome, by the way, Lindsay. Awesome. Hey,
You know what else is awesome? Harrod Blank. That guy is inspiring, thriving, and you know what? You just encouraged me to expand my own horizons. So thank you so much for joining us again today, having you back. ArtCarWorld.com, Harrod Blank. I'm sorry, artcarworld.org, and Harrod, Harrod Blank. That is his last name. At least he says it is. HarrodBlank.com. Go over, find him, and find out more. Get inspired. Get out there. Expand your horizons, people. Harrod, thank you so much.